Hey everyone, it's Jeannie, and today I am sharing two cards that I created. They're very similar. They use the Koi Pond stamp set along with a couple Atelier inks. And originally, when I had set out to make this card, it was because I wanted to play with different designs created by Post-it tape. Instead of Post-it tape, I have a skinny roll of washi that was just in my collection because I have a ton of rolls of washi tape. I don't use it for anything in particular except for crafts now. So I usually use my washi tape to hold down dies or to stick things temporarily, but I haven't really used it for its intended purpose, which I think is for planners. But I had this skinny roll of washi and I decided to create a design using it instead of going out to buy some more post-it tape or masking tape. What I did was I just put it down the middle of this card and then two diagonal stripes down each side. I am going to be using the Koi Pond stamps with Fadeout ink on Canson XL Watercolor paper, and I do stamp it a few times because I want the Fadeout ink to be a little bit darker than what it is. This is an ink that is used for no line coloring, but I have started to really use it for tone-on-tone backgrounds because it makes it so easy. You just put ink on top, it absorbs it, and it picks up the color that you're putting on top of it for that tone-on-tone look. I did create a card with the Koi Pond stamp sets before, and it actually looks kind of similar to this. Originally, my plan was to go in and create a background using the washi tape to create a design for this background. When I finished, I actually added splatter and I didn't really love it because it kind of took away from the card itself. So I decided to create a second card without splatter, but I thought that it needed something instead of just like one big sentiment. So I decided to do that. For the first portion that I had masked off, I added Peacock blue. And this is the second color that I'm adding, which is Trinity Teal. It's very similar to Peacock Blue in the sense that they both look very similar when you use it sometimes. But in this situation, you can tell that there is a difference when you blend it out. For the third color, I am using Goddess Green, and I just wanted to keep in the blue-green family. I thought it would look very oceanic and pretty, so I decided to stick with those three colors. Here is where I added the splatter, and with splatter you can't really control the splatter that you put on a card. So sometimes you get really big droplets, sometimes you get really small ones. I've kind of gotten over the OCD of splatter because you just can't control it. However, with this card, I thought the splatter really took away from the design and the tone-on-tone background. So I did regret it. That's why I ended up with two cards, because I redid the same design, same colors, except without no splatter. So for this card panel, I had used water splatter and splatter with perfect pearls mixed with a little bit of water, which gives it a glittery look. So once I was done, I decided to take off the washi, and it reveals that white space, which is always really fun because it's so crisp and nice, and it's really hard to achieve if you were masking. It's just more precise if you went ahead and masked over the area and got those white areas. So because I thought that the splatter took away from the background, I stamped out two koi fish to watercolor. And I'm also doing no line watercoloring. And as I mentioned previously, I do not watercolor very well. However, with images that have a lot of details like these koi fish, it's really easy to do. I literally have, I think, Marigold orange and bee sting yellow on my glass mat. And I'm just picking up the color, mixing it with a little bit of water, and making sure my brush isn't super wet. And I'm just placing the color on top, and the fade out ink kind of picks up the details of the fish, and it looks like I really watercolored. So I'm just going in with the darker areas where I want the shadows, which is using the Marigold orange, and then I'm filling up the rest with the bee sting yellow. So although it looks like I'm taking my time, which I am taking my time to color, but I'm not really worrying about all the little details because the fade out ink does the work for me. This is the only time I really watercolor, is when I have a stamp set that has a lot of details because it makes it so easy to do. I've done this watercoloring previously with the same exact stamp set because of all the details. It almost looks exactly the same. I didn't intend to do it because I was just going to create a background and slap on a big sentiment. Because of the splatter that took away from it, this is the only reason I'm adding the fish. But I thought it was a nice touch because the yellow and orange against the blue and greens really made the fish pop. Hopefully you guys give this a try. I know that I've noticed that no-line watercoloring videos don't really get that much traction on my channel. I understand why. It's totally intimidating. It's one of those things that just take practice. But honestly, if you put in the time to try it out, it's pretty amazing. I never thought that I could watercolor images like this, but the ink kind of just cheats for you, and that's why I love it so much. But yeah, so I haven't really been doing anything super interesting. I have continued to go on my hikes. I actually went out for happy hour with my coworkers last Friday, and it was the strangest thing. It was at 5 p.m. on a Friday when the streets are super busy, or supposedly super busy downtown. It was not. It was the first time I've been on a bus for about a year, and which is completely insane because I used to commute on the bus every single day and it would be packed like sardines. But when I went on the bus, everyone was super respectful. They kept their space. It wasn't super crowded. It was just weird. But the happy hour was all in all good because it just kind of was normal. I kind of took a moment to take it all in, and I looked around and I saw all these people just being happy, being outside, and just being normal, which is so hard to get these days. And I appreciate that I was able to have a little bit of normal in my day, which I really appreciate. And I feel a bit hopeful that soon we'll kind of go back to normal life and this pandemic will be over and we're done living through this part of history. For the fish, I also went in with a Copic friendly marker just to do the eyes, and the eyes are the weird part of this card, I think, because I just find fish eyes really strange, and anytime I'm at a restaurant and there's like a fish and the fish eye's still there, it kind of creeps me out. And I know it might just be me, but it just does. I also went in with a white pen just to give it a bit of highlights so it didn't look as creepy, and I don't know if that really helped, but I thought that it did bring the highlights to the eyes. As you see, I have two sets of these because I ended up creating two cards, and I kind of appreciated the fact that I ended up with two cards because, I mean, if it's a simple card, you might as well do two or three at a time, which I have been doing more and more so recently, where instead of just one, I've been creating multiple cards. And I have card drive to send them to and different companies that I will be sending them to, so I will be putting them to good use. So to finish off the card, I went ahead and stamped the sentiment right in the middle. The sentiment really works because it's so thin, it just fits in that space that the washi had masked off. I am adding the fish to kind of circle around the sentiment. I thought it was perfect, and I thought the fish really stood out against the blue, green, and teal. So I went ahead and matted this on a piece of gray cardstock. I have been trying desperately to use my cardstock and really use up my paper. I have so much, and I have so many different paper pads that I really am trying to use it up. But that is it for both of these cards. You can see one has splatter and one doesn't. I don't know which one you guys prefer, but I prefer the one that doesn't have splatter in this set. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time for another one. Bye!